Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 16 deck lists that have been submitted for the next Lorcana Cross Continental Challenge, or the LC3 as I will be referring to it for the foreseeable. This is not an official Lorcana event, this is fan run courtesy of the famous Pavel and Pixelborn Connect. If you've been around Lorcana a little while, then you'll probably be familiar with the LC3, but if you're a super new player, this was as I said, fan ran event that was put on a few months ago, courtesy of Pavel and Pixelborn Connect, which was themed EU versus NA, and there were 8 players from each region which were voted for by the community, and they partook in a tournament, all streamed, all with different casters, official judges. It was taken really seriously. We cut to a top 4, and it was North America that came out on top for that event, but the event was just really fun, really popular, so Pavel has put in the work to organise yet another LC3. This time the teams were decided via Pavel chose team captains for each, which are Jan, Moyen and Zan Syed, and they got to choose which players they wanted on their team. I've spoke to Pavel, and I think the idea is, as he does more of these in the future, teams will be decided by different ways, trying out different things, and I think his long-term plan is to, bring in more people and get to give other people a chance to do this sort of thing. But this is a stacked event with some huge names, amazing players, so I'm super looking forward to this event happening. Not the first round, but I believe I will be streaming and casting at some point during this event, so I'm super looking forward to that. But yeah, this is all set 7. The players have all locked in their deck lists. It is open lists, although I believe they are allowed to make changes in between the rounds. I will confirm that and put up an edit or put it down below. But we're going to look at all the deck lists that have been submitted. So a quick shout out to channel sponsor Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, including the new stuff from Arcasia's Island, then check out Cardmarket. But let's take a look at the deck lists. So we're going to be starting off with the legendary, the magnificent Artabax, who participated in the prior LC3. Great to see Artabax representing the EU. And yeah, as I said, a lot of effort goes into this event and trying to make it as high quality as possible. And we've got these beautiful player achievement cards, and then there are cards for the matchups for the various rounds. So again, just a huge shout out to Pavel, Pixelborn, and everyone that's been involved in the creation and running of this event. But yeah, starting off with Artabax repping EU, the green purple master. Put some respect on the name of Artabax. 2 times top 2 in the pack, which again, if you're a newer player, you won't have heard of the pack, but these were online tournaments ran very early on in Lorcana's lifespan. They were huge, hundreds of people would play, so a great achievement to be able to top not once but twice and top 25 on the Pixelborn seasons 1 to 4 in its prior state. And I think Artabax is way too modest with this set of achievements. We know that he has had great runs in a variety of events, a player in the European Championships, and yeah, Artabax a great player. And despite being the green-purple master, Artabax has decided to bring along some sapphire steel aggro, very, very reminiscent of the Kiwi Bird version, popularised by Justin and Harlan Sweet. And recently, Artabax got 2nd place in a event at Battle Bear under set 7 format, running a list that I think was very similar to this. Yep, I've just double-checked. It is the exact same list. So yeah, we're just looking to play our curve. We've got Captain Hook here, who is really strong at the moment in a meta that's going to be defined by Belle, who is also here. Banish an item to play her for free. That's pretty good. Enables us to play, to sing 3-cost songs from turn 2, and just having a 3/3 beat stick on the board is pretty good for those songs. The 3 Storm, the 4 Strength for Raging Fire. Again, we're curving, so by turns 3 and onwards, we should be able to get this up to a nice high number. 3 copies of Along Came Zeus. You've got to remove the opposing Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam. Also, some Shark kind of in format. We haven't seen much Shark so far, but we've only had a couple of events for set 7, so that could all change. But if you see them, you want the answer. But definitely a lot of Tamatoa around, so Zeus is going to help with that, and a number of characters in general. Of course, the 4 Pulp and the 4 Fortress Spear to draw cards. They're going to combo with the Bell, and we're running 4 copies of Flavisham, so that's some extra draw power. 4 copies of McDuck Mana to create that 2-pronged attack, copyrighted, that you get from having both characters that are questing and manas that are Mannering, I guess. We've got 4 copies of Grand Martala in here to filter through, find key pieces, which I can see being necessary if you need to find a removal piece, or if just like you don't have anything really good enough to play on turn 5, so this is going to help you dig a little bit. Plus, of course, as a 4-cost character, she can sing any of the songs in the deck. We've got 3 Benja, respecting items, opposing Porps and Fortispheres, but there's a lot of workshop. We saw at the Southside Gaming event the Oswald heavy item build of Sapphire Steel doing very, very well with workshops and dimes, etc. So these Benjas, like, players respecting items at the moment, which I think is good. Force Me's for stats. We've got Calhoun here again for stats and that catch-up mechanic of gaining lore. 2 copies of Cogsworth, just to mess with our opponent's maths with that blanket resist 1, and 3 copies of that Tamatoa. We're only playing 8 items, just the 4 Fortisphere and the 4 Porpsicle, but being able to play those, dig through your deck, and then just get rid of them whenever you want them to put this Tamatoa down and get them back to your hand is so, so good. So you don't need to lean all the way into items for this Tamatoa to be good. Also for 4 Pete here to shut down those actions, and 4 Lawrence. So yeah, in like Blue Steel versus Blue Steel, if this goes up against the item variant, if there's Oswald's, then Oswald's going to matter, like if Oswald can get some good hits, then that's going to change a lot. But there are 3 Benja here to respect it, but this deck is definitely a lot faster as opposed to the workshop variant that's going to inevitably have more cards in their hand and kind of just be able to attrition the Kiwi Bird player out of the game. But if the Kiwi Bird player can be fast enough, then it can get the job done. So yeah, a great looking list for Artabax. Can't wait to see his round 1. Going over to North America, we have the legendary Zach Bivens, the king with the crown on his head, the previous winner of the first LC3. So yes, absolutely, the defending champion. I need title belts, Pavel. Come on, man, let's get some title belts for our guys. But yeah, top 8 NA championship, winner of the LC3 set 6, number 1 seed in Chicago and Vegas DLCs, number 3 seed at Atlanta, number 38 seed at DLC Fort Worth. A seasoned player, a fan favorite for sure. And Zach has decided to bring along what he brought along for the first LC3, obviously a different format, for the Swiss rounds anyway. The players were allowed to swap their deck out at top 4, but they had to play the same deck all the way through Swiss. But yeah, Zach brought Steel Song. He's a well-known lover of Steel in general, and Steel Song or Amethyst Steel being decks that he picks up a lot. And I was saying not too long ago, I thought Whole New World decks were like going to really struggle this format with just how strong Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel are. The decks that are playing like Fishbone Quill, etc. They're gonna be very happy to get a new hand. And I said I thought maybe Whole New World will not perform so well. And Zach Bivens has put his hand on my shoulder and said, Baker, you have much to learn. Because he do be bringing that classical Steel Song with a Whole New World. Both players discard their hand and draw 7 cards. We've got singers here, Ariel and Gaston, who, of course, that 3 strength is important because it stays out of brawl range, unless they have got, of course, the Ice Block or the new coil. But just requiring them to have that extra piece is important. So Gaston still here representing. We're seeing 4 copies of the Troubadour, 2-cost inkable, 1/3. Is it Troubadour or Troubadour? Troubadour or Troubadour? I need to double check. 2-cost inkable, 1/3 quest for 1, resist 1, and sing a 4. So very reminiscent of Ursula, to drop out the Ursula Vanessa, who is a 1/4 quest for 1 with sing a 4 without that resist keyword. And I said I thought, even though Troubadour in many ways is better, I thought that Vanessa would be the card that you would play just because she's better at setting up for a nice high value Rapunzel, and I thought that interaction was important enough that you would still prioritize Ursula. But what I did not notice is that the Troubadour is an ally. Now, I was singing the praises of Miss Bianca in Sapphire decks where you can go Tipo into Miss Bianca, but yeah, the Troubadour do be an ally, so that enables a turn 4 drop of Miss Bianca, who's a 6-cost 5/5. She is a singer for all of the songs in our deck. She is an absolute powerhouse. I am so happy that Miss Bianca feels like she is actually going to be really important. And yeah, with her, it makes all the sense to play the Troubadour. We've got the 4 Daisy and 4 Cinderella, and of course the songs that typically go with the Cinderella. Also 3 copies of The World's Greatest Criminal Mind, which maybe is a little surprising to me. I was really hyping it up last set in particular, when sharks were everywhere. We've not seen a lot of shark at the moment. Of course, I think there are some in these lists, so this is going to help against that. But Tamatoa, the new big boy, only has 4 strength. Of course, the OG has 5 strength, so still lots of good targets for World's Greatest Criminal Mind. So I don't hate it by any means. Also 4 copies of Neverland, which is just a 1 cost, 1/4, 1 passive lore gain location. We have no reason to ever move there. But yeah, just another card. Again, the idea of this deck is you get that, like, you control the board the best you can with your singers. You get them under a Cindy lock as soon as possible, so they're not like building up too much of a board or questing too much, anything like that. We establish our singers. We want to get to a point where we can sing Whole New World, and we've got a whole load of ink where we can then play down a load of characters. We've got the Pete for when we need to respect the Be Prepared turn. We've got like bigger removal, things like Long Came Zeus, and of course if we do build up this big field, then Strength for a Raging Fire is going to do a lot of damage. Neverland is just one more thing that we can put onto the board, and of course works really well into opposing Be Prepared. If they go Be Prepared, and then we can slam down a couple of these along with characters, then they're not always going to be able to deal with both. So yeah, I did think the Whole New World was going to struggle early this set, and maybe it still will, but if there is a pilot that is going to show us that it is still very much alive, it is indeed Zach Bivens. So a huge shout out to Bivens. Can't wait to see his first game. Going back to the EU, a new challenger has arrived, at least for the LC3, as we welcome Domingo, top 32 at DLC Lille, and the winner of the European Championship. An absolute pleasure to have this man representing the EU, and he has bought a super spicy deck. We have got some Ruby, Amethyst, Mill. He did it. He actually went and did it. How well it's going to do is still to be seen, but I respect him for doing it. So yeah, the idea of the deck is to make your opponent run out of cards, they cannot draw, and therefore lose the game. So let's look at all the mill-related cards that we have. We have the Mad Hatter's Teapot, which is a 2-cost inkable item. You exert and pay 1. Each opponent puts the top card of their deck into the discard, so you need to pay 1 to use it and exert. But yeah, if you get multiple of these down, then that's sure going to put in some work. We've got Very Merry Birthday to You, to Me, which is a 1-cost inkable song. Each opponent puts the top 2 cards of their deck into their discard. That's going to get dangerous. We got 4 copies of the new Show Me More, and I said that I feel like this would be the home. Mill would be the home for this card. 2-cost uninkable. Each player draws 3 cards. So again, accelerating our win condition and giving us resources to continue to mill the opponent and answer the board to a hopefully reasonable degree. We got 4 copies of the new Ruby Amethyst Dual Link Mana Medusa, who when you play her, when she quests, you deal 2 damage to another chosen character of yours to put the top 3 cards of chosen player's deck into their discard. So that's another 3 off the top of the deck. We've got 4 copies of Earth Giant. When you play him, the opponent draws a card, so more mill, and 4 copies of the Mad Hatter. 1-cost inkable, 1/1, quest for 1, and whenever he quests, you look at the top card of chosen player's deck and then put it either on the top of the deck or into the discard. Obviously, the idea is to do this to the opponent. So those are the mill related cards, although also mill related is the Amethyst Chromacon, where you pay 2. It's 2-cost item, and you exert. Each player may draw a card. So if our opponent chooses to utilize this, then that's accelerating our win condition. But it's also what's going to give us more cards and allow us to keep milling the opponent. So that's our game plan. To go alongside that, we've got 4 copies of Chernobog's Followers for the card draw and to check early characters if they've only got 2 willpower. We are running the Bounce package, which I don't fully understand. Like the Foxes, I can absolutely get on board with. I'm not sure why the snake's here, and I'm not really sure why the crab's here, to be honest. I get the fox to a degree as a response option, but having it's a bounce package, so it's just a bit more control over the board, and I guess we can reuse some of these come into play abilities utilizing the snake. Obviously the crab gives us a challenging turn, but you can use it with Chernobog if you really need to get to 5. I can see that happening. But a lot of our characters already hit quite hard. Like there are niche things where the math is gonna matter. Giving Challenger 3 to the Earth Giant, so it's now taking out a much bigger body, things like that. Yeah, the snake and the crab, I don't fully understand the inclusion. 4 Maui I get as a nice card to control the board. We're running 3 Tremaine and 2 Medusa as ways to control the board. I would have loved to have seen Yzma here, to not only control the board to make our opponent draw more cards. I feel like Yzma desperately wants to be in this deck. We are running one copy of the new Donald Duck 7-cost uninkable 5/6 quest for 3. Opponents need 25 lore to win the game. Hey, why not? Like, maybe that's the extra turn we need to finish milling them. So hey, why not? And then we've got 4 Brawl. 4 Be Prepared makes all the sense. Brawl, what is Brawl hitting? I suppose it's hitting Flavisham and slowing them down from just drawing all the cards that ever did was. I'm not convinced by Madame Medusa. I'm not convinced by the ladies in general, to be honest. Like, I think I just like this to be a high Medusa count. I guess the Tremaine. If you can, like, if nothing else is on board against an opposing Shark or Tamatoa, something like that. I get that you need removal and an element of board control. So, but you've got the board, you've got the B preps. I can understand the Brawls, Mauis, Foxes. I'm not sure if you need those. I think it's just I really want Yzma to be in here. Other than that, though, super spicy. Massive respect to Domingo for bringing this along and trying it out. I'm super looking forward to see if it works. From one continental champion to another, representing NA, we have Ed, the landlord. The rent is due, Ed. Winner of DLC Fort Worth, top 32 in Chicago, 8 times winner of the set championships, 2 times top 8s in 5K events, and the North American champion. Absolutely respect the hell out of this guy. A fantastic player, and love that jacket as well. And Ed has brought along Ruby Sapphire Shark, very reminiscent of the DKP list, DK Shark, as I like to call it. I know he likes to call it Dinner Little Lore. Full respect to DKP, an incredible player and someone I can learn a lot from. Dinner Little Lore is a terrible name for your deck, bro. Call it DK Shark. You're welcome. But this deck looking super, super scary. We've got 4 copies of Shark, who gain you extra lore when you play actions, and we've got a wide array of cheap actions. The Saudi Azaret Seas to ramp and draw. Vision of the Future to find key pieces. We've got 4 How Far I'll Go to ramp and again find key pieces. 4 copies of A Pirate's Life for the +2/-2 in lore, and we've got a lot of characters here that can sing it. 4 copies of Fishbone Quill as another way of ramping up those 4 McDuck mana to create that 2-pronged attack. Again, copyright Ed. The Flavisham for the draw with just 4 Porpsicle. Again, DKP showed us that this is perfectly fine. Just as, like, I think I think DKP was running a lower count of Flavisham, but Ed going for the full 4 just with the ice cream. Tala's here to find key pieces, and she can sing How Far I'll Go, and Tipo is another ramping option. So we've got a ton of ramp, and 4 copies of Scar Vicious Cheetah, who's a 7-cost uninkable 6/5 quest for 2 rush, and Daddy isn't here to save you. Whenever he banishes a character in a challenge, you can re-ready him, so he can potentially take out a wide board. If we've got Porpsicles here, we can heal him up and take out even more, and he does indeed quest for 2. This list looks absolutely terrifying, and Ed is a fantastic player, so yeah, super looking forward to seeing his first round. And speaking of the man himself, here he is, Ding Kang Pham DKP, the winner of DLC Melbourne, top 8 in Toronto and Bologna, top 16 in Fort Worth, top 32 in Birmingham, top 128 in Bochum. A fiercely respected player. And DKP sticking with his traditional sort of list, but updated for set 7. A lot of the same cards that we just talked about via Ed, but DKP playing his signature. 4 copies of Super Goof as just another character that's going to provide 2 burst lore. We are playing 2 copies of Hideaway, respecting opposing locations to a degree, but I think the main respect point here is the Tamatoa and its ability to play Lucky Dimes for free, and the fact that so many lists are playing more Lucky Dimes, but again, locations, another thing that you can deal with nicely. The 4 Pirates Life, we got the 2 copies of Let It Go as just additional removal to get rid of, again, opposing Sharks, opposing Tamatoas. You don't always want to have to be prep. Develop Your Brain in here as another cheap action to work with the Shark, and we are indeed playing just 1 copy of that Tamatoa Happy as a Clam, despite having only the 4 Porpsicle. DKP saying, yep, this Tamatoa is good enough. I'm likely enough to have Porpsicles in the bin to get back 2. Hey, even if you get back 1, it's probably just fine as well, right? And it is inkable. So yeah, and as you can see, masterclass in the info. That is not in my info. Go seek it out yourself. Nonetheless, the best of luck to DKP. Next up, another pretty mythical character in the Lorcana space, the elusive Brian Cortade. or better known as the Rat. So I've got a very soft spot for the Rat, the winner of DLC Chicago, winner of the pack, again, huge online tournaments in Lorcana's infancy, 3 times winner of the set championship. And yeah, we don't see Brian, we don't see the Rat all that often, but when he does poke his head out, he always performs super, super well, so I'm really glad we're going to get to see him play. And the Rat is playing that Sapphire Steel item heavy build. And we do see here the 4 copies of Oswald, recently popularized by Zan Syed and Jeremy, who's a 2-cost uninkable 2/1 quest for 2. Whenever you ink, you can look at the top card of your deck. If it's an item, you can play it for free. So we can ink for turn, but we can also additionally ramp courtesy of 3 copies of Tipo, 4 Fishbone Quill, and even 1 Great Stone Dragon. So, and especially if you've got multiple Oswalds, and that's multiple triggers. But Oswald is it's a card that sometimes he's just going to miss and miss and miss, and then other games he's just going to win it for you by just like really high rolling the items that you get for free. We're of course utilizing the new bell. We got a wide item package, the 4 fort, the 4 Porp and the 4 Fort. There you go. 1 copy of Last Cannon in here as well, which is a card I heard Moyen talking about not long ago as his extra 1-drop item of choice. Some players playing the Shield of Arendelle, which the Rat is playing, which gives resist +1, which can be super relevant in various scenarios, but probably most notably you're happy as a Clam Tamatar is now surviving, and then along came Zeus. So this is nice, but the Last Cannon giving you have to pay 1, which is an extra cost of it. Both items need to be banished, but you give a character Challenger 3. So Brian utilizing both of these, and again, items, if we hit them with Oswald, great. We want 1 for turn 1, we want to swallow them with Flavisham, we want them for both of our Tamatowers, so all of these make sense. We've got the 3 lucky dime for those huge lore bursts, and 3 copies of Maurice's Workshop, which is going to be the engine that hopefully keeps this whole thing going. We can hopefully get some card advantage from Flavisham, and some favourable hits from Oswald, and of course just popping our Porpsicles and getting them back with Tamatar is great, but if we can get a Workshop down and we're paying 1 more ink for every item we play to just draw another card, then we're going to have tons and tons of options, and we've seen this variant of the deck do very, very well. I'd be surprised if it does not continue to be so, especially in the hands of the Rat. So good, best of luck to him. Coming back over to the EU, we have another legend in the Lorcana space, Lorcana Decklists, otherwise known as LD, top 16 in the European Championships. An incredible feat. I was so happy for him. Rank 1 on Pixelborn, co-host of the Artabax, which is one of my favourite Lorcana shows, along with, of course, Artabax. So a huge shout out to LD. And LD also playing this Kiwi Bird version of Blue Steel. Super aggro. I think this is nigh identical to the Artabax list. There is 1 less Benja here, and there is 1 less Grand Martala. I think those are for an extra Cogsworth and an extra Tamatoa. Yeah, exactly that. So very similar ideas from both of these gentlemen, the hosts of the Artabax, but a couple of preferences on the slots. But LD, another fantastic player. Best of luck to him. Going back over to North America, we have Kurt Spice, another very well-respected name in the Lorcana space, and a great guy, bringing along some Emerald Steel discard. A lot of this deck is largely, as you remember it, we've got the Diablo, which is that draw engine, which if you don't deal with, it is going to run away with the game. We've got 4 Ursula here to double sing songs. Double singing Storm is huge for the damage and the draw 2. Strength for a Raging Fire, popping 2 guys is great, and of course the double Sudden Chill, which if you've got the Prince John on the board and you're drawing cards while they discard, that's even better. Hypnotize also for the discard, and 2 copies of that Lucifer Cunning Cat. Mentioned a couple of times, some of the blue steel decks are playing far less actions than they used to, so Lucifer can absolutely feast, or at least target the oh so significant Be Prepared. We've got 3 copies of Muses here as well to work with these songs to control the board of characters of 2 strength or less. We've got no way of manipulating that strength, but 2 or less is still a very significant number. 4 copies of the Pete to block off those actions. We are also running 2 copies of Doc. If we don't end up like running away with a ton of card draw courtesy of Diablo and Prince John, then Doc's another way that we're going to get back into the game. Or hey, maybe we do get a ton of cards with Diablo and Prince John, but with the aggro deck we can afford to play more aggressively and just really overpressure the board. And then we've got these Docs that are nice ways to get over that finish line and get back a few cards. Couple of hidden coves here to wreck the opponent's maths for getting rid of things like Diablo and Ursa the Deceiver of all. 3 copies copies of We Don't Talk About Bruno. It is important to have removal for the Tamatoas. And I keep saying the Sharks. Again, we haven't seen many so far this set, but they were so good set 6. I refuse to believe they're completely out of format. I think we just need some more events and some more data and some less people playing Blue Steel. We'll see, but important to have that removal. And a nice addition here is 2 copies of I Find 'em, I Flatten 'em, which again, against those item heavy Blue Steel decks that want to run workshops and all those things like that, and Oswald's, I Find 'em, I Flatten 'em, I Find 'em, I Flatten 'em, banishing all items could potentially be huge. And the other card I really like in this deck, I was a believer in this card in this deck from day one, is Pete Space Pirate, who of course can shift on top of the other Pete's, and while he's in play, your opponent can't exert to sing songs, and your pirates get resist 1, which is only himself and Mr. Smee. That's also relevant, but still, he's such a big boy questing for 2. I've seen some comments say that Green Steel is kind of destined to be our savior in this format and like help us take back some of the meta from the Blue Steel decks. I don't know how yet, but I'm open to it. Nonetheless, Kurt, great guy, great player, and best of luck to him. Next up, repping the EU, we have Federico, top 16 DLC Bochum, and the winner of Disney Lorcana Challenge in Birmingham. Really nice guy. I met him at both of these events briefly, but also got to meet him when I went to Italy for Law League a couple of months ago. He was there, and really great guy and a fantastic player. And he is bringing along the old school, traditional style of Ruby Sapphire, but of course benefiting from some new shiny toys, pun completely intended. So we've got the traditional item package. No lucky dimes in here is a surprise, but okay, we've got the four Porp, of course, 1 copy of Vitalosphere, which is another item to work with Flavisham and Tamatoa, but also is going to work nicely with the 4 copies of Maui Shark that we're running with the evasive, gaining extra lore when you play actions, and when he challenges a character, you can return an action to your hand. So giving rush to this and getting a surprise challenge is going to be super good. 3 copies of Pirate's Life for that +2/-2, 1 let it go for the removal, the how far I'll go for the ramp and finding cards, and of course all these cheap actions like the Vision, the Sail, the Brawls, 1 copy of Hideaway, respecting opposing items. I keep mentioning Dime as the most significant, and it is, but even Workshop, that could be pretty good. Or of course the locations. We are running 2 copies of the new Happy as a Clam Tamatoa. No copies of the So Shiny Tamatoa. I mean, that explains why you're not running the Dime. So we're not all in on items and only 2 copies of this Happy as a Clam, but we are running 4 copies of the Sapphire Coil, -2 strength whenever you ink a card. So our Brawls, our Medusas, and our 2/3 Sisu line is going to be super online, and 2 copies of McDuck Mana to again create another potential hazard for your opponent. 2 copies of B-Prep I do think is low, but Federico, a fantastic player, and this deck fairly similar to one that we're going to look at in a moment. It would not surprise me to see it do well, so best of luck to Federico. Speaking of which, let's go over to the Ruby Sapphire connoisseur himself, the father of the classical Sisu on ice, although she be on coil now. We have the Sailor of the Azure at Sea. Top 25 Pixelborn seasons 1 to 4, 6 times top 8 high level events, 5 times top 4 set championship, top 16 DLC Fort Worth, and top 8 at the North American Championship. And I can for sure say a fantastic guy, as well as very clearly a great player. And Sailor indeed bringing along his updated version of Sisu on ice. We are not playing any ice blocks. We are utilizing those coils. This item package similar to the one we just looked at, courtesy of Federico. A lot of this deck actually looking very similar. Only the 2 Tamatoa once again. 2 copies of Hideaway in this build, worth noting. A bit more respect for the item hate and the location hate. 3 copies of Medusa in here makes all the sense. Super online with the coil, as are the Brawls and the Sisu line. Yeah, a lot of similarities here in the 4 T-Po for that extra ramp. So Sailor, known to be one of the best Ruby Sapphire players around, and this is his new version of the deck. I'm super looking forward to seeing him pilot it, so best of luck to Sailor. Next up, repping EU, we have Theotime, a red-purple fan, but the winner of DLC Bochum. Another player that we don't get to see all that much, but whenever we do, take advantage of it. A fantastic player. And he is also bringing along this Sapphire Steel item heavy build. A lot of these cards we've already talked about. He is utilizing 2 copies of Sapphire Coil for the -2 strength. We have no cards that particularly care about strength, but it's going to give you some more favorable challenges. We're running 4 copies of Mulan, who allows you to filter, draw a card, and discard a card. The 4 Oswald to hopefully high roll and get out all of these items. Worth noting also 2 copies of the Imperial Bow and 4 copies of the Shield of Arendelle. So putting a lot of emphasis on that. We're seeing 4 copies of the new Scrooge McDuck, who's a 4-cost, 4/4 quest for 1. You can exert 4 of your items to play him for free, which is apparently more reasonable to do than I thought it would. But the second ability, when you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck and reveal an item, put it into your hand. Scrooge, really nice. And we're running 2 copies of Grandma Tala. We have nothing to shift onto, although we could play something to shift onto, but we're not. But she allows you to gain a lore whenever a card is put into your inkwell. And our way of ramping is 2 copies. Our ways of ramping are 2 copies of Greatstone Dragon and 4 copies of Fishbone Quill. This is fascinating. No Tamatoas, but a heavy item package. So Grandma Tala is our win condition here. We've got nothing else. Oh, the Oswald quest for 2, but I am assuming you don't really want to be questing with the Oswalds the majority of the time. So we're putting so much emphasis on Grandma Tala with our Greatstone Dragon and our Quills being our ways of ramping. Of course, you also gain lore just for inking for turn, but I can't imagine that's fast enough. Fascinating. I'm really looking forward to seeing this piloted. Nonetheless, huge, the best of luck to Theo. Next up, repping NA, we have Diego Saz, level 9001, the winner of DLC Toronto. And he is bringing along his pet deck, a colour combination that he's sort of known for, some Amber Emerald. But we are utilising the new Lady, who's a 5-cost, uninkable, Floodborn, but nothing to shift onto in this deck. But when you play her, return up to 2 character cards of cost 2 or less to your hand. So we're super aggro. We've got Daisies, we've got a Clarabelle engine here for extra card draw, Merfolks, Pegasus, and Piglets, big questers. Also playing 4 copies of the new Prince, who's a 2-cost uninkable 0/5 quest for 1 bodyguard. I was sort of interested in this card when I first reviewed it, and I wondered if it would make its way into the sort of these style of decks. Great to see that level 9001 is taking it for a test run. We've got 4 copies of Go-Go to Margot for those hopefully nice lore bursts. 2 copies of Hey Hey, who allows you to ramp a card from the top card of your deck if you have less ink than your opponent. So cool. We don't want to be inking a lot really. We want to be playing cards to the board. Unless we get a big Clarabelle online, then we're probably not drawing very well, so this could be very beneficial. Kick Cloud Kicker to control the board. We do, of course, have 4 Rapunzel, which, hey, maybe we can draw big, especially with the Prince and that 0/5 stat line, but this is dependent on our opponent giving us falling into the Rapunzel trap, as it were. 3 copies of Cricky, who gives Challenger 3 to all of your characters on play. So nice strong quest challenging turns out of nowhere from things like Ursula or even the Prince. 3/5, that's scary. And Cricky quest for 3. 4 copies of Pegasus, who can shift onto the small one. And when you play him, you give all your characters blanket evasive. And we are running 4 copies of the new Tramp, who's a 7-cost inkable 2/6 quest for 2. You pay 1 less to play him for every character you have on board. So if you curve, you can play him on 4. And when you play him, you draw a card for every other character you control and then discard that many cards. So finding the pieces that we actually need, but also throwing characters into the bin, not only to reclaim them with Lady, but to get a nice cheap Chernabog, who you pay 1 less to play him for every character in your discard, and he shuffles them into the deck. This looks super aggressive. Is it more aggressive than the Kiwi Bird Blue Steel decks? Is it fast enough to go under the heavy item variants? We shall see. But super glad to see a Lady aggro deck. Oh, I remember the name I thought of. It's Lady and Lime. It's Lady and Lime. That's it. Done. In my last video talking about Lady, I just called it Lady aggro. And then after I uploaded it, I was like, oh, Lady and Lime. It's perfect. It's perfect. Don't at me. Anyway, best of luck to level 9001. Coming back over to the EU, we of course have my boy Joe Speci Curly, the ultimate specimen, EU DLC caster, and Speci, who is very much known for his super speedy decks. He wastes no time, does our Speci. He ain't got the time, mate. Time is money. We've got Can't Touch This, Amethyst Steel. So we're super aggro. We've got the Maleficents that are questing for 2. We've got the traditional super powerful 1-drops that all allow us to draw cards. Running 4 copies of Snake and 4 copies of Fox. Again, Fox to control the board, but bouncing in general to protect our characters, and bounce goats is indeed very, very good. 4 copies of Mr. Smee, great stats, questing for 2. Also 4 copies of Honey Marin, a new card from set 7 that a lot of people are kind of high on. I'll be honest, and if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. I've never been convinced by this card. I'm not too high on it. Like, again, it is nice. It's more just an interactive lore game, I grant you. But I am not sold on this card, especially because, like, it's not guaranteed. Yes, our opponent having an exerted character is very common. It's going to be the case a lot. But, like, if you're both topping and you're both, like, I don't know. I'm not sold on Honey Marin. Maybe Speci will show me the light and I'll be proved wrong. But yeah, gain the lore if your opponent has an exerted character. We've got 4 white rows for the lore gain. 4 Pete to shatter those actions. Do not be prepared me, says Speci. 4 Benja, respecting the items. Want to pop those fishbone, those Maurice's Workshop, those dimes. Get them out of here. 4 copies of Amethyst Chromicon. Other than our 1-drops, we have no ways of drawing cards. So the Amethyst Chromicon is how we're going to, draw cards. Our opponent does as well, but we're hoping to just go under them. 4 Goat, of course, and 4 copies of Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom. Oh, and of course the main event, left it till last deliberately, the Giant Cobra. On play, you can discard a card to gain 2 lore. So just another character which off the top can just represent game for doing nothing, for playing it and discarding it. Discarding a card if you have the Giant Cobra. So yeah, super fast. As we know, Speci likes his decks. Best of luck to him. Next up, repping NA, we have Mo Shamblin. Short and sweet here, but pretty impressive. Top 8 in DLC Las Vegas and 5th at the North American Championship. And a grand moustache, I must say. And Mo is bringing some spice. We've got some Emerald Sapphire, but not a discard variant. We're not playing Bend to My Will. Instead, we're playing 3 copies of Ink Geyser. 3-cost uninkable action. Each player exerts all the cards in their inkwell. Then each player who has more than 3 cards in their inkwell return cards at random from the inkwell to their hand until they have 3 cards in their inkwell. So against any of those ramp decks that are playing Quills, T-Pos, Sails, etc., this could potentially hurt them, but the Quill variants are just going to re-ramp up so fast. I'm not a huge believer in Ink Geyser, I'm not going to lie. So Mo, I'm super hoping that you prove me wrong, mate. Show us all. We're running 4 copies of Sapphire Coil, which is super relevant for the 4 copies of the Muses that we're running. That's how we're going to control the board the best. We've got a Clarabelle line in here to draw cards. 2 copies of the Small Pete, who when you play an action that isn't a song, you can banish an item. Item hate is good, and we're running Develop Your Brain, Sales, Vision, lots of cards that can trigger this, so you'll love to see it. 2 Grandma Tala for the filter, and she can sing How Far I'll Go, and she can sing one of the 4 copies of You're Welcome, which is why I'm surprised to not see any Bend to My Will in here. But of course, You're Welcome just works well with Clarabelle, because then you're drawing more cards, and she's just removal. 4 Mother Knows Best, even more removal. My man coming with removal. 4 copies of One Jump Ahead of the Breadline, 1 Swing Ahead of the Sword, I steal only what I can afford. That's everything. I'm sorry, but no one plays this card anymore, so I never get a chance to sing it. And it's a banger, mate. And 4 copies of McDuck Manor. Oh, and of course, the shiny new toy. I mean, Ink Geyser is a shiny new toy, but I don't think it's that shiny. But I think super shiny is the Emerald Sapphire Dual Link Baymax Giant Robot. 6-cost uninkable, 5/5. Quest for 2. Universal Shift. You may pay 4 ink to play this on any of your characters, and when you do so, remove all damage from that character. Lots of removal, some aggro. I called it aggro, but it's not really. Like, the Baymax Quest for 2, as does the Clarabelle. So yeah, we don't have a lot of big questers. So we've got the removal, sure. We've got the Ink Geyser to hopefully control the inkwell to a degree. And yeah, like you would before playing the Ink Geyser, you would probably want to play Mother Knows Best, You're Welcome. I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to decipher this. I'm gonna let Mo show me. I'm going to wait and watch Mo's first game and see how this does. But huge, the best of luck to him. Alright, final 2. We go over to North America for the team captain, Zan Syed. Winner of Charlie Collectible Show's 8K, top 64 in Toronto, 32 in Seattle, top 4 in Atlanta, and the winner of DLC Viva Las Vegas. As I mentioned prior, Zan getting top 4 at the Southside Game Set 7 event, a very large event, very recently, alongside Jeremiah, who won the event, both playing nearly identical decks. There was one change, I believe it was a T-Po for something. And Zan opting to play the exact same deck. This says version 2, so I'm guessing based on like his internal testing, because the deck he played at Southside Gaming, I've got it up now, and it's exactly the same as this. But yeah, so we've seen it do well. We've talked about a lot of these cards. The Oswald for those high rolls with the item. items. Worth noting, Zan still sticking with the one Shield of Arendelle, prioritising it over the last cannon, the 3 dimes, the 2 workshop, the 3 Scrooge McDuck in here, 1 copy of Greatstone Dragon, and of course that big bad bell. So yeah, Zan Syed, the team captain for North America. We've already seen him perform well with this deck. There is some item hate in some of the decks. Is it going to be enough? We shall see, but best of luck to Zan. And last but certainly not least, we have the team captain for EU, Moyen. Multiple tops of the pack, 65th in DLC Birmingham. Oh, it's bitter, it burns. 33rd in DLC Seattle, top 16 DLC Bologna, top 32 at the European Championship, and part of Podkana, and super well respected player and a great guy. But I will admit, Jan Moyen will always be the guy who had a wrestling match with me in Disneyland Paris. I won't be answering any questions. Ask Podkana. But we've got Peng, a 2-line special, Sapphire Steel. We are running that high item package with 4 Tamatoa, happy as a clam, 2 copies of the last cannon. So Jan really taking a shine to this large cannon and the ability to give Challenger 3, which of course is going to affect some maths with your challenges. Of course it has to be you challenging. 2 copies of Lucky Dime, the traditional items in Spheres and Porpsicle, 4 Storm, 4 Strength for Raging Fire, 4 Sail the Azure at Sea is our ramp of choice alongside the Fishbone Quill. No Tipo was my point there. The 4 Cogsworth, the 4 Scrooge McDuck, all 4s, nice and neat, nice and consistent. Not messing around with any of those Oswald high rolls or workshop, none of that, just safe, reliable cards. Sounds like Moyen, and I wish him the best of luck. And those are all the main participants, but there are 3 reserves for both North America and EU. They don't have decks submitted, obviously, but we'll take a look at their player cards. In North America, we have Patrick Cote, multi-winner of set championships, top 128 in DLC Toronto, top 4 at the North American Championship, a fantastic feat, and you see him there showing off the Baymax sleeve. I get it, flex. Did everyone get the sleeves? He would have got a mat though, so regardless, but yeah, I hope at some point we get to see you play, Patrick. Serving as reserve for the EU, we have another legend in the Lorcana space, the famous Harlan Sweet, top 8 in the pack, winner of the Content Creator Set Championship Set 6, EU Champs Qualifier, and top 128 in DLC Seattle. And yeah, I know Harlan went along to Disneyland Paris for the Euros, played and won a pod to make his way into the main event, got onto stream, a fantastic player and one of the originators of the Kiwi Bird style of blue steel that we've come to know and love. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Harlan, and I super hope that we get the opportunity to see him play. Serving as reserve for NA, we have Hamza Khan with a fantastic set of accolades. Top 64 in Las Vegas, top 32 in Seattle, top 8 in DLC Atlanta, and top 16 at the North American Championship. So yeah, an absolute veteran at this point. I would be scared to see you play, because you're NA and I'm EU. I'm joking, but I hope we get to see you play. Also on the reserve team for the EU, we have the legendary Kawa from Podkana fame. You see here, co-host of the Podkana podcast, the winner of the Set 5 Content Creator Set Championships, and taller than Brendan APG. And a personal friend, great guy. I hope we get to see Kawa play. The final reserve for North America, we have Joshua Poultry. Apologies if I'm murdering that. Top 64 North American Championship and the winner of DLC Atlanta, the first ever DLC to take place in North America. So a fantastic player, and I hope we get to see him play. And the final reserve for the EU, we have Primor. Top 8 in the pack, EU Championship qualifier, and top 16 in DLC Bochum. And I know firsthand a fantastic mind for the game and a brilliant player. I super hope we will get the chance to see him play. And that is it. A super long video, especially because I do think that players are allowed to change their decks in between rounds. So I don't know if I'm going to do one of these for every round, maybe every... Let me know down below. Would you like to see one of these for every round with the new submitted deck list, or should we just like do another one after like a couple of rounds? Let me know. Do you want me to do it for every single one of the rounds and go through all the lists? But that's going to be it from me for now. Oh, I forgot to say, sorry. That is not it from me for now, just yet. This weekend, the 15th and 16th of March, I will be in Northampton for Lorcana Fest. There have been 3 or 4 of these that have happened so far in Lorcana's lifespan. I've always been invited. I've never been able to make it work to get down there. This time I am indeed coming for the entire weekend. On the Saturday is the Mega Illumineers Cup. It is a set 6 tournament, but there's incredible prizing, which includes a trip to Tokyo, to Disneyland Paris, and there are booster boxes available for set 7. But also on the Saturday, there is a winner box event under set 7 format, and tons of side events, fusion draft, a bunch of stuff. And free-to-play activities, meet and greets. There's karaoke going on, lads. I can't promise I'm not going to do it. I'm just telling you. A prize wall, which you can get great prizes for your tickets that you win over the weekend. And on Sunday is the Kingdoms Collide event, which you get together with. It's a 3-person event. You get in teams of 3, and you get given 24 booster packs, which I think are between sets 2 and 7. And between your team of 3, you each pick 2 colours, and you build decks of those colours, and you go up against other teams, but not multiplayer. It's like 3 one-on-one games. Nonetheless, it's a really cool sounding event, and I'm going to be representing Axion teaming up with Speci and Earlmeister. So that is bound to be a lot of fun. If you don't already have your passes and you are available and you can come to this event, please come to this event. It will be linked down below. But that's going to be it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show support, and we'll see you soon.